when you look at what you have to work with and the way that you play, what do you envision in terms of like just in playing a solo? Do you have any kind of thoughts in mind? Do you use a free kind of concept, or is it structured?
It's pretty free.
Uh-huh.
Pretty free. I mean, I'm just limited by my own limitations, technically and mind-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, anything's possible if you want to do it. You know.
I mean, if I'm doing a solo in a tune,
Uh-huh.
I use the structure of the tune or the type of tune,
Right.
or how long the bars are or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, if it's an 16-bar sequence, I solo in
You
16
actually
bars.
count the bars as opposed
Well,
to
I
the
just
melody?
feel the sequence, you know.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if you've been playing 28 choruses or something, you know the
You
tune
get
by the
the
time
tune.
it gets to your solo.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the way it's supposed to happen. I can remember times when it didn't work that way for me. But I mean, I know what you mean. It's the same thing that I do with myself. I try my best to envision a structure of some sort, even if there is no tune. Like I come out and the gentleman goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Billy Cobham," right? I come out, oh God, what am I going to play, right? And I walk the set, hope, and I get on the set and I go, well, okay, now what do you do, dummy? You just can't sit here and smile. So I start to play, but I play with some kind of with some direction, you know, and that's what's necessary in soloing. You have to have a direction. Even if you want to call it freedom, it's a freedom direction. You're going in a certain direction, and you're free to go as far in that direction as you want to get involved in it as much as you want to, as well as you're free to stop whenever you want to, supposedly, until they sort of turn down the lights and lock the door and everybody's gone but you. So with that in mind, this is one concept of playing, okay? Now, as we move over to Chris, he represents, to me, in rock and roll, like a real steady, straight ahead, right in the pocket kind of thing. Not to say that Nick doesn't do that. It's a different concept, though, where Chris does not need, or nor does he want at this point in time, as he projects, that type of freedom, because it's not necessary for what he does, his trade. So here's Chris Wiles doing what he does. I think that cymbals come into view here as being quite an interesting situation. You have a very bright, highly finesse-oriented set of cymbals over here, where it's used for very light, textured, very, very quick rhythmic patterns, as played by Nick, versus getting a lot of crash and projection and tone to combine itself with what's going on down under here by Chris. Cymbals have a tendency to be sort of forgotten. It's an art, just as brushwork is an art, playing brushes, of just trying to find the correct cymbals. Chris, how do you go about choosing your cymbals?
I think the most important one for me really is the ride, as far as choosing a cymbal. The crashes, I think that for live work within concerts and gigs, to go with the power of the kit, the bigger the crash cymbals, the better.
Really?
For live work. But in the studio, I mean, these are like, I think, quite medium, really. There's
Right.
17 and 18.
Great. How do you feel about it, Nick?
Well, I find it's very difficult to get the cymbals you want for a start.
Yeah.
This is as near as I can get. I mean, I like a heavy ride cymbal because it's clean and it cuts through. And I like a thin crash that's not too long and it's not too messy. And I'm often hitting it, 10 times over 2 bars or something.
Right.
And the Chinese has also got a quick decay, and so is this one. So they're all quite short.
Now, the ones that he's talking about, I mean, you find that with like a splash cymbal, it has a very short period, this would probably have the longest of all of them. The Chinese is because it's thin and large, and because of the type of the bell, does not have a very long span either. It'll just give you a psh or a kind of sound, and it's rather short for the size that it is. The same with the splash, and the hi-hats will give you a lot more ring because they're normally heavier, especially the bottom one.